on in this.
There is a lot. This one probably took a fair few weeks, 4 weeks or something, 4 or 5 weeks maybe. I don't know. Yeah, there is a lot in it. And because it's traditional. Well, actually, to be honest, traditional doesn't tend to take that much longer.
Sure.
Because you tend to be more decisive when you're doing it. Whereas with digital stuff,
You can go back
it's so easy just to be like
yeah.
changing everything.
Which
Yeah.
of course just extends the time frame.
Yeah, and especially as I trained traditionally, and my whole background was traditional, so digital is the weird thing. Not, I do everything digitally like I do it traditionally, which is probably, I don't know, probably not that efficient, but it's.
So I think
what I do.
this piece, I think it was a codex cover again, possibly.
No, this was was it codex cover?
It might have been.
It might have been, but I think we did some which were like dual purpose. So this was a DPS. It may have been a DPS and a cover. It may have been used as the cover. It may have been a DPS first.
What's a DPS? Sorry.
Oh, double page spread.
Oh, right. Sure.
Yeah, and then used as the cover in a subsequent edition.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the case.
I would imagine so. Then, yeah.
Again, I don't know. A long time ago. Yeah, so I think with this again, it was trying to get. I was very big on trying to get a sense of scale to 40k, because 40k is meant to be huge.
The one thing that stands out to me, which I think goes unnoticed sometimes, is the massive fucking lander.
Oh yeah, it's bloody ridiculous when you think of it. It is practically architectural as well. It's which again is what the spaceships are meant to be. They're meant to be like big, almost architectural kind of things rather than just spaceships.
Constructs in space, churches in space, whatever.
So, yeah, and it's trying to get that sense of scale and the sense of scale of what a Imperial Guard army would be like. Yeah, but also, like not like a real world thing where you get like some helicopters and a few landing craft. It's like you're talking millions of people being landed all at once. Yeah. It's that sense of trying to get that, but also it's millions of individual people who are getting thrown into this meat grinder. So there's still the heroism and there's still the
because you got the bloke I think at the front.
Yeah, it's the flags and it's the again all that kind of heraldry and all that sense of it's part of what 40k was, I guess, or is. So it's much more than just sci-fi army. It's got a sense of history and that kind of thing, and rallying around the flag and all that kind of stuff.
And again, I kind of much like Ultramarines being the poster boys in space.
Yeah, and the
Canadians by this point had kind of become the de facto Imperial Guard,
Yeah. I mean, I think I still try to get some of that, like, around the edges, there's a bit of the weird stuff as well, and give them that, servo skull and all the bits and pieces, and again, put them into context and things. It was a fun one to do. It's nice when you can, like, spend that time and just really getting into the individual characters, even though there's, like, a lot of them, or at least give the impression of a lot of them.
Yeah, you get to spend that time making people unique and...
and it hopefully it kind of, again, sparks off that, like, storytelling aspect for people, so that you're kind of wondering, where did he come from? Why has he got that thing on him? And all that kind of stuff.
I don't think you see the foe in that.
No.
There's no enemies from what I can remember.
No, I think there's just some, like, burning. There may be hints of them, but there's nothing specific.
But again, that allows your imagination to fill.
Yeah, I think it was very specifically supposed to be. This is just the Imperial Guard, and it could be fighting anyone really.
Yeah.
But, charging off to their deaths.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's very, it's very kind of inspired by your kind of classical historical paintings, obviously.
You can imagine, like, Custer's Last Stand or something.
Yeah, or like a lot of, tended to look at a lot of Napoleonic paintings, just because they had that sense of scale.
And that heroism as well, I think.
And the battles are kind of, there's the way they're structured almost feels that's similar to how you'd imagine it.
Yeah.
It's all very light, lots of lines, lots of flags, lots of walking into smoke and the enemy.
Walking
and that
as well as
Yeah. It's very old school kind of. And there's just some amazing Napoleonic paintings as well. So yeah, it's kind of an excuse to be a history painter, but not all those grand ideas that you have. See, how elves are another one I kind of really got into, or I'm really, again, it's that kind of classical. It can bring out that side of me, I think. So you've got kind of all the. It's the classical posing and all that kind of stuff. It feels a bit like a classical painting.
Sure.
Like an Alma-Tadema kind of painting-ish. It's that sort of.
Yeah, you've got the solitary figure front and center. There are characters kind of in the background, but they're a little blurred, so that the attention is solely on this single, elegant-looking. Yeah, and like you said, you got the wings.
It's kind of even the way that I think I probably approached the armor and stuff. It's like a Jerome painting, but it's inspired by. I'm not going to quite go that far, but yeah, it's that sort of feel of it. It's very much that sort of kind of classical. Sense to it and bringing it forward and again trying to get that sense of these are real figures. They're not just fantastical. You could almost imagine them being real.
Sure.
Was
the brief for this for the front cover? Can you
remember? Yeah, it was another cover. I think I did a couple of High Elf covers. Yeah, there's the one on the guy on the horse as well.
Yeah, I think that's the 8th edition one, I think.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah. It's an edition.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll find out which.
I think that was the first one, and this was the second one I did.
Sure.
I think. It looks like I got quite into doing the grass as well. I don't know why.
Sure.
It's one of those weird things when you're painting. Sometimes you'll just really get into I'm really enjoying drawing this rock.
Yeah.
And into the textures and stuff. And again, it's trying to get the scale with the big gate thing in the background that you don't actually see on the cover because it's under the text. I know it's there. That's what matters. So again, it's that kind of.
What materials were used?
This was oils, I think, which is why I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure it was oils.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, these days I tend to paint more in acrylics just because oils can be a bit noxious if you're not careful. I think I've had too many years of those oils going into me lungs, or the white spirit and stuff. It's oils. Again, it's. I think the medium helps.
Sure.
With the kind of background and all that to it.
Yeah, and it's got I would say it's got the distinctive look of the time, the covers that were kind of coming out at that time, or from that time. Like you say, the medium kind of lends itself to it.
Yeah, I think medium, kind of gives it a distinct character. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's one of those which is very certainly when I think of 40k, it's this kind of image that is very distinctive, very much that's what it is. Mostly because it's got a load of fucking skulls in it. Apart from that, burning skulls even.
Yeah, you got burning
what
skulls.
More do you want?
You got the inferno going on. There's no background. It's just fire.
Yeah, it's just sort of hellish.
Yeah, exactly.
Maelstrom kind of thing. Got blokes in hoods.
Yeah, you got the priests, if you will, kind of off at the side. So it's kind of got that very traditional.
Yeah, even a skeleton on a stick.
Yeah.
So it's got all the things you could want. Yeah. Again, it's just going back to my kind of love of classical painting. I think it kind of comes out even if I'm not trying.
Yeah.
So again, you could kind of see it as a historical painting.
Yeah. This is my opinion. One thing I've often thought with this piece is the fact he's wearing gold armor is almost kind of like the shining light in the maelstrom kind of approach.
Yeah,
that's something whether that was intentional or if I'm completely off the mark.
It's hard to say because a lot of these things they're less intentional in the sense of you think of it and then you try and do it. It's more, does this feel right?
Sure.
And it feels right.
Yeah, seems wrong, you know. Wrong with it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's obviously like I tend to, my first thing with an image is always emotion. It's like, what emotion am I trying to convey? What do I want to feel looking at this picture, as opposed to the details? If you see what I mean, it's not like, oh, he's going to be wearing this and he's going to have this and he's going to do. It's like, how is this going to make? Yeah. And then it's finding, like in the drawing, you try and find. So I tend to think while I'm drawing.
Yeah, sure. I think that comes across in this piece. Like you've got obviously, like we've said, the background is very hellish and and you've got this single solitary character front and centre, kind of trying his best, if you will, to make it all disappear.
And there's obviously the kind of not very subtle religious connotations to it all with the halo and all that kind of stuff. But it's religious in the sense of 40k being like, exactly. he's a representative of the emperor and all this kind of stuff. And I always like playing with that kind of imagery. And it's just obviously everyone recognises that kind of image. Yeah. Because churches and things are full of it, so it's kind of a powerful image immediately. So you've got a cheap win almost. So, and I do like the cheap wins.
Yeah. So was this piece like oils or acrylics? Or?
This one was acrylics. It's kind of pre-oils. You can kind of tell if you look really closely. They tend to be a little bit more transparent, the acrylic paintings, but I think I can tell.
And again, was this piece done for a front cover?
Yeah, this was done. What was it? Yeah, no, this was definitely done for the front cover. I think. Was there a Demon Hunters?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Demon Hunters. Yeah, Demon Hunters 3rd edition.
Yeah, it had all Grey Knights and stuff in it as well, didn't it? Yeah. And again, it was a fun one to do.
A question then on the fly. There's no Grey Knights on the front cover. Was that something like you would have thought about?
I suspect it might have been more to do with whether the models might not have been made at the time. Sure. And that's, it's just one of those practical things that sometimes, you can't. The way you work, you work so much in advance, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So
I get that.
Things like that. And it having said that, it may have just been that you really wanted to focus on, if the book's called Demon Hunters,
you want to focus
you just want one strong character, because that, that can be very effective. Is just having that one character. Everything else can start to. I think that's a bit of a case with the Witch Hunters one. I think in retrospect, it's one of those where if you just had the one, there's almost trying to put too much stuff in it on that one.
To me, I often thought of it as almost looking at a witch, without sounding funny, like being a witch hunter, you're going to be part of a group.
Oh yeah.
Whereas a demon hunter, hunting a demon feels a bit more
and
extreme than hunting a witch.
It's like he's in super heavy armour.
Exactly,
whereas the other guy is like.
Yeah. Maybe a bit more lightly armoured.
And this guy is going to be much more physically imposing and all that kind of stuff, whereas, he'd just be a normal guy-ish. But I think this one I kind of look back on quite fondly.
Sure.
It's one of those ones where it kind of came off, whereas I was aiming for this and it sort of, painted it all red.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah, it worked, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I always feel like I'm cheating when I'm using red.
I like it.
No, I think it works, but it's like the whole kind of red is just so eye-catching that you kind of like it works for covers. You just don't want to overuse it. It's like
a little detail I've always loved with this cover is the red in the clouds in the sky.
Yeah,
you've got and it's that.
And I think actually because, like, especially back then, the old Dark Elf thing was purple. But I didn't want to just do. So you want something that complements them and the purpleness, but the red and blue thing obviously mixes.
And it really lends into the kind of, you know, a lot, obviously the Dark Elf are kind of like a slave raiding race.
Yeah.
So it kind of invokes that terror. Like you look at the sky, everything's on fire, everything's been ransacked, and
and then you look at all the dead bodies on the ground. And
exactly.
Oh yeah. Again, they're one of those. You want to hint at a lot of stuff. You don't want to be showing people torturing things on. Well, anywhere really, but especially on covers.
It's a way of showing their identity without going full on.
You want the mood to represent what they are, not like the actual specific thing that they do. I think it kind of came off okay.
Yeah, because again, you got a few different characters on this. Obviously, you got the knight riding the cold one. You got a few different spearmen.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's always trying to make the core guys, the basic guys, look interesting as well.
Sure.
Because it's so easy just to get caught up in like the heroes and all that kind of stuff when you're painting them. But actually, everyone should look really cool.
Yeah, and I think that's something that really, like, fantasy really lends itself to as well. Is you know, 40k, it's kind of like, you know, there's so many heroes, if you will, kind of that you associate with 40k. Whereas fantasy, like particularly like when you think of the Empire, which is just average peasant. Living in the woods next to beastmen and orcs and all these nasties of the world. Yeah. So being able to kind of almost identify with the common soldier.
Yeah, I think it puts you in the place, because you want to be looking at the heroes as heroes.
Exactly.
You know, you want them to be special. So you want to be associating with the ordinary guy, so that you can look up to whoever.
It's almost like that dynamic range between the lowest of the low and the highest of the high. I think fantasy really, you know.
And we'd all be the very, very lowest of the low. Well, we'd all die really quickly.
Yeah, we would, wouldn't we? Yeah, like so you say, you've got these common foot soldiers on the front cover, and they look incredibly badass. Yeah,
but I guess with elves, it's like, I always used to think of it as like, elves think they're really special.
They do, yeah.
But they are.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's not like it's arrogance, but it's like, actually compared to a human, they are. In the sort of Warhammer universe anyway. Yeah. So
I mean, it's Tolkien-esque as well, isn't it? You know, I think there's that element of arrogance, you know, if you will, to kind of Tolkien's elves and whatnot, to a degree.
And it's a really thin line as well between like dark elves and high elves. It's like, you know, they've both got very similar character traits in lots of ways. Sure. It's just one's slightly over this side and one's slightly over that side, or a long way over that side, whatever. But I enjoy doing those kind of elves and all the classical stuff again, as I say.
Nice.
Witch elves are fun as well.
Yeah, witch elves. Yeah. Are there any of them on the front cover?
Yeah, there's one. She's back in the corner.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. So I see.
Yeah. Standing on a pile of men.
Yeah. But again, I suppose that kind of lends itself in then, you know, I suppose she is not quite a hero as such, but she's certainly more beyond the common soldier.
Oh, yeah.
So you're kind of pointing out that there is all these, you know, these other elements going on in the background as well, you know, like of the IP, you know, rather than the picture itself.
Yeah. I think that's one of the tricks is hinting at stuff without having to put everything in there. It's amazing that sometimes people think you've put stuff into your pictures which you know isn't there, but people are convinced that like there's all this stuff in there, and you're like, not really. But it's nice that it obviously is there in the sense of what you've implied.
Yeah, sure.
But you weren't necessarily it's not actually physically there, which is what you want really.
And I think that like kind of looking at like all of your artwork that we've just been talking about, like that's something I've always kind of thought is, you know, it's almost like what's going on outside of the picture.
Yeah,
and it's up to you to kind of fill that in. You kind of provided the...
Yeah, it's definitely like the window on the world kind of thing. Yeah. Because the thing you can do as an artist is only provide these tiny, tiny little glimpses into whatever world it is. And just hope that it stimulates people to get excited about whatever, which hopefully they do. I don't know. I do. There we go.